As the 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsports Series season came to a climactic end, the Eastern and Western divisions each held their championship final events. These two final races determine the series winners in the respective divisions, Rookie of the Year honors, and the opportunity for 6 racers from each division to compete in the $25,000 shootout. This is showroom stock car racing competition at its door handle to door handle best. The GM Motorsport Hour, brought to you by General Motors of Canada Limited and by Quality GM Parts, Players Limited of Canada, Priority Courier, and Sony of Canada. I'm Jim Polson. This week's GM Motorsport Hour revisits the 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsport Series, the Eastern and the Western Series final championships. Now, the 89 racing season saw 10 Eastern events and 7 Western races with 10 different track locations right across Canada. Of course, the series has a good selection of varied locations, with the Toronto Indy and the Montreal Grand Prix as really 2 of the highlight points because they command the largest crowds of the season. The drivers compete on both ovals and road courses during this season's competition. And the finals, well, they're the culmination of their team's hard work over the season and the heavy on-track competition. Now, for the first portion of our GM Motorsport Hour, we're going to see the Eastern Series final from Ontario's own Mosport International Speedway. This is the way it was for the 89 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series final. Act 1 will be staged right here at Ontario's famed Mosport Park. Act 2, coming to you from one of Canada's fastest and most beautiful tracks, Westwood in British Columbia. The Drivers' Championship, or rather championships, since there's one for the East Series and one for the West, is really a prize that only a few exceptional drivers can aspire to. And as you can imagine, the competition is fierce. In fact, going into the last race, it's also extremely tight. Now, what happens today here at Mosport, and of course at Westwood, will establish our 1989 champions. In the East, fellows marginally ahead of 2-time previous champion Richard Spinard, and wants this title very, very badly.
He wants to win the championship real bad, and he knows if I qualify ahead of him this weekend, I have a good chance to win the championship since I always beat him here. So he's going to do everything he can to go as fast as he could in the qualifying, and I think that's what happened yesterday, and it bit him.
Well, we left the pits and it was dry. Sprinkling rain on the back straight. Through 8, 9, and 10 and onto the front straight, it was perfectly dry. And was sailing into corner 1, and it was wet. And it really is, we got a bit of rain on the windshield, but the distance between corner 10 and corner 1 is not a whole lot. Yeah. And I hit corner 1 and it was wet, and I did my best to hang on, and I went broadside into the tire wall down on the bottom, and it was a real hard hit.
Yeah, exactly.
I bit my tongue.
No, you suffered a little more body damage than
that. Yeah, turned the car over and came down on the roof. It was a good hard hit.
Well, after flipping his car when it suddenly rained on day 1, Ron Fellows needed a good day 2 qualifying session, but it stayed wet. And even though he gave it everything he had, Ronnie could not dislodge Richard Spinard from the pole, giving 15 points and the upper hand in the championship to Spinard, whose time, set while it was dry on day 1, wasn't even threatened on a wet day 2. Now let's go to the West for a championship update. Here's Paul Gilgan.
Thanks, Jim. Well, here in the West, we've got a tight 3-way battle for the championship. Perennial champion Frank Allers is making a strong bid to make it 3 in a row. But he's facing major heat from Trevor Siebert of Williams Lake, BC. Trevor is the series rookie sensation who has already wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors. And although 39 points back of Frank Allers going into this final race, he remains a serious threat for the Western Series title.
When I first came down here this year, I set my goals on being in the top 10, and then after the first qualifying session in the first race here in Westwood, I qualified 7th, and then I believed, well, gee, maybe I can finish in the top 6, and I might be able to make it to that final back east. And so I've been quite surprised with what's happened this year.
Also not to be ruled out is Edmonton's Kevin Dowler, who's improved remarkably from his 17th place series finish of a year ago.
Well, we were going for number 1, of course. We needed the 15 bonus points to, to give a good run for the series championship. that failed, so we were trying for the first row. You know, we ended up 15 100ths of a second behind Orville Murchie, which put us in the fourth row. You know, the inversion is good, but today it's not so good.
Well, those 15 points would have been nice, but I see you're following a pretty fast guy up through traffic.
Yeah, well, it doesn't matter. I'll either follow Frank or he can follow me. You know, I'm easy.
I have a small lead going into the race here, so I don't really have to take any big chances, although I would like to win the race.
You know, as exciting as this East-West final is going to be, there's even more excitement just down the road. Now, for years now, the Players Limited GM Motorsports Series has been one of the best, most lucrative racing series in Canada. But the top Western drivers and the top Eastern drivers have never had a chance to establish who really is the best nationally until now. It's called the Shootout. It'll take place at Quebec's Mont-Tremblant race circuit a week from now, pitting the top 6 Eastern drivers and the top Western drivers against each other in a $50,000 race. $25,000 going to the winner, and that's the largest share ever awarded in a Canadian Pro Series race. And to the winner, of course, there'll be some bragging rights as a national champion as well. Most of those top 6 positions, East and West, have already been decided, but a few of them are still up for grabs, and they will be decided today.
Thank you, Jim. Well, as we count down to track time, rookie Ken Wilden and veteran Mark Dankos know what they have to do today. For the other drivers, the strategy depends on their outlook and their position in the point standings. Richard Spinard has the confidence of a man never beaten on this track, and Ron Fellows needs a miracle to gain the championship he wants so badly here today. And as the cars move off the grid for the pace lap, here are the starting positions for this 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final here at Mosport. We'll be back with the green flag right after this. Welcome back to the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. With the inversion of the top 6 qualifiers, Robin Buck is on the pole and series leader Ron Fellows will start 29th. Here's Jim.
And here they come out of the final corner for the start. We are now anticipating the green flag. It waves! And we are racing in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final at Mosport. There they go.
Kenny Wilden sprints into the lead, and something's happened back in the pack. There's debris flying everywhere. It looks like one of the marshal's towers has been taken out. There's a full course yellow flag situation now as the drivers must use caution. No passing allowed. Through corner 3, and the black flag is out. This race has been halted momentarily because of the damage at the pit exit area. In replay, here's what happened. The field moves up to the green, and there on the right, the number 63 car of Don McDermott gets sideways. I think that's Cat Teasdale, number 3, with him, and they're into the barrier and the marshal's stand.
The assistant start stand was hit. Both of the starters are okay. One's gone for attention, but they are okay.
McDermott's Geranium Holmes Camaro is an obvious write-off, and there's Cat Teasdale. From that, we take it she's out of the race as well. Well, it certainly was difficult for us to see exactly how all that happened, and it'll be up to the race stewards to work it all out. Thankfully, no one was seriously hurt, and the cars are being brought back into position on the grid now. This large 32-car field has just been reduced by 2, and it'll take a while to clean all this up. So as the drivers reset their adrenaline levels, here's Jim.
So McDermott and Teasdale involved in the incident right off the top in corner 1. The corner worker injured, taken to the medical center. They'll be okay here at Mosport. But Alan, I can't believe the drama that has developed in so many areas to wrap up our season.
Well, that's typical Players GM Motorsports series. I think we managed to. They're starting to call us controversial, and I think Canadian Motorsport now we're just newsworthy, which is kind of nice. Unfortunately, due to some very strange weather conditions here at Mosport Park, Ron Fellows rode his car off. His competitor, Richard Spinard, now appears to have a pretty big edge. He's the fastest qualifier, and Richard is faced with a set of circumstances that require him to finish at least second or to finish third and lead at least one lap for the championship. If he can't do that, then Ron Fellows is almost going to get a buy into it, and Richard's going to have to work for it.
Yeah,
Reminds me of last year, Alan. Seems to be it went right down to the last event as well.
Well, it went down to the last event, but it was a little closer last year. And Richard was able to pick up some points in qualifying. Ron made the wrong tire selection, wasn't able to catch him in the race, and Richard won it.
But in Western Canada, Alan, there's drama as well in their final event of the year at Westwood today.
Absolutely. First of all, will Frank Allers repeat as champion, third time in a row? Big feather in his cap. Frank is an excellent driver. He's got competition from two very determined, not quite so experienced individuals in the form of Trevor Siebert and Kevin Dowler. And the other fight we've got going out there is who's going to come to the shootout.
That's right.
We've got John Simonson of Calgary and Andy Mahood of Vancouver, both of whom are trying to make that final shootout position, and they're separated by like a point or 2 points. It's going to be very interesting. They're going to have a real shoot there today.
East or West, we could not have written a better scenario, and let's get to it in our Players Limited GM Motorsports Series.
Thank you, Jim. As the cars form up for the restart of this race, let's have a look at Mosport Park, one of the most challenging road circuits in the entire world. 3.954 kilometers around. The track record for these Camaros and Firebirds, 140.060. They're coming off the end of the back straightaway now. You notice the red dots around the course. Those are our camera positions here today. Now, let's go to Jim for the restart.
All right, here comes the field. We're ready for the start of the final Players Limited GM Motorsport event in the East. And they've got a green flag. And this time we watch the entire field go by and into corner one. They're all away safely this time.
And this time, Robin Buck, number 34, has broken out on top, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden. With 44, Rob Fellows in third. Number 4, Drew Fizar in fourth. And number 10, Claude Poirier in fifth spot. Into corner 3, Poirier inside Fizar. Gives him a little nudge, throws him sideways. Fizar's heading off the track. He's got it collected. He's back on. No, not quite yet. Here comes Dankos, and he nails him right in the front. Dankos spins right around. That's what a 360 looks like from inside one of these cars. Now with Ron Fellows, he threads his way through the traffic. Garbage, debris everywhere. A good piece of driving. His teammate Terry Betts waves him by. And now back with the leaders who probably don't know what has happened behind them, even those with radios, because the information will take a while to get to the pits from corner 3. Now let's have a replay here of the incident as Fizar swings sideways, heads off the road. He almost gets the car back under control and then flies back into the path of Mark Dankos. Now, with Dankos directly behind Beatty, he's not so lucky. Fizar gives him no room and no time. Hard luck for the Quebec driver, because that'll knock Dankos out of the top 6 and the shootout. And right now, Kenny Wilden is second behind Robin Buck. Rob Fellows is in third as the leaders are about to come upon the accident for the first time. Here inside with Richard Spinard through corner 3. He's trying to gain some ground on Claude Poirier as they come out of the corner heading towards the damaged cars. Spinard, bang, right into the back of Poirier, spins him sideways. Spinard up against the wall and smashes straight into Dankos' machine, which was sitting there parked. Now with Doug Beatty Jr., Spinard's shunt has caused more problems. Cars all over the road, debris everywhere. Beatty gets through, and there goes Ron Fellows up the outside. Emergency vehicles leaving the pit lane, and the black flag is flying for a second time, signaling another race stoppage. We'll be back with the restart after this. Well, the black flag is still flying here at Mosport as we await the third restart of the 1989 Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. With all the debris littering the track, the drivers are checking very carefully the tires and underbody parts are okay. At the crash site, you can see the pace car also took a hit. Richard Spinard's car is a goner, and Gary Werve, number 96, is also finished for the day. Drew Fizar's car, involved in the original incident, awaits a tow, and here's how Mark Dankos experienced the shunt.
Drew Fizar's car came across the track like perpendicular to the track, you know, right angle to the track, like if he was crossing a light. And he came across the track when I saw him came across, I mean, he was right there. So I just bumped into him and that was it. There was no way to go, nowhere to go. It was like a fraction of a second. He appeared in front of me like magic, and that was it.
So the season and the shootout are done for the doctor from Quebec. Gary Werve won't improve on his best starting position of the year, and in replay, here's how the second wave incident happened from Richard Spinard's car. Coming in fast under the yellow, the front runner slows suddenly. Spinard is bunted from behind and can't collect himself before hitting Dankos's car. It was in the second incident that Werve caught the pace car. Here's how the drivers saw it.
When I went past the accident, I looked in my rearview mirror and I think I saw Gary Werve go right through the back end of the Corvette, the pace car. So guys were not slowing down.
At the second start, someone went off behind me. I think it was Mark Dankos. Him and another car tangled. And after we came around the first lap, I saw the double wave yellow flags going into 3. So we backed off. But someone up ahead, I believe it was Richard Spinard, he just couldn't avoid it and he went right into the middle.
He's still out there. His car is written off for sure. So we're going to see if we can get him in my car. We're not sure how the rules, how they work.
It's been a crazy weekend. It's one that I know I'm going to, once it's over with, I'm just going to go and forget about it and just chalk it up to everything in racing is never a surprise.
Well, Terry Dale has a decision on that, right? Yeah. So can we ask him what his reasoning is, why Richard has to start at the back?
Why don't you go?
Well,
Yeah,
I don't have
any
time.
advantage. Even if I have to, I'll take his spot to start the race. Let's start at this spot.
Apparently, Richard will be allowed to start with his teammate David Empringham's car, but only from the back of the pack. They are changing the numbers now, but if Richard does elect to start from the back, I don't think there's any way even a driver of his skill can move into the top 2 and take the championship. Tense moments for Spinard as they check the rule books to see if he can, in fact, start this race at the back of the grid. No, the word we now have is that Richard has decided not to take Empringham's car. Here's Jim with a report.
Well, the race situation here in the East at Motosport is that we're getting set now for our third restart of this final run for 1989. Richard Spinard, with the crash, opts not to drive the Empringham car. He, in effect, forfeits the championship here to Ron Fellows. Now, let's see if we get a restart this time round.
Right, Jim, and for a third time, the field now reduced to 25 heads out on a pace lap. And even though the Eastern Drivers' Championship is decided, there is much more excitement in store, so stay right there. We'll be back. Welcome back to Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series final action as we head for our third green flag of the day. Up front, Buck and Wilden, Fellows and Empringham, Poirier and Cadman. And there's the green flag, and we're racing once again here at Motosport. For a second time today, Robin Buck, number 34, puts his Pringles Firebird in front, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden. Down through corner 2, Buck carries his advantage with Wilden, David Empringham, number 2, Rob Fellows, number 44, and the rest of the field in hot pursuit. Now into corner 3, and it looks like they'll all make it this time. And there's Ron Fellows, a blue and yellow Camaro on the inside, number 43, in an unfamiliar car, driving with verve. All he has to do to become the 89 Drivers' Champion is show up at the winner's podium. And since riding off his usual car in qualifying, he has been hurting badly. But it looks as though he'll still be going flat out. Number 34, Robin Buck, ahead of 25, Kenny Wilden, as they head up the long Mario Andretti straightaway. Because of the time delays caused by the accidents, which necessitated 3 restarts, we have been informed that this race has been shortened to just 10 laps, and that gives a big advantage to the front runners, especially Buck and Wilden. Into corner number 8 at the end of the long straight, heavy braking and a lot of opportunity to pass here. There's the distinctive number 14 Tide car of David Boyle, currently 14th overall. And now back with our leaders. Coming out of corner 10 and onto the pit straight, Robin Buck and Kenny Wilden are being closely shadowed by number 2, David Empringham, 44, Rob Fellows, number 10, Claude Poirier, and number 71, John Cadman Jr. Traffic is still thick and furious, heavy despite several retirements. And in this Eastern Series final, there is no quarter being given anywhere. Veteran Robin Buck is coming off a win in the previous race at Mont Tremblant and has had his Firebird in great shape the latter part of this season. Ron Fellows, number 43, is showing the spirit of a champion as he continues to carve his way through the field. He's now in 12th position. Robin Buck is under continuous assault from Kenny Wilden, who has already wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors, and thanks to the Mark Danko's forced retirement, now finds himself in 6th place for the season, and with a ticket to the $50,000 shootout. Ron Fellows swings through Moss Corner like a man with a mission, driving the only way he knows how, right on the limit. At the end of the back straight, Wilden drops out from the draft, under braking, and moves alongside Buck. Rob Fellows makes an identical move on Empringham. Empringham holds off Rob Fellows, but it looks like, yes, Kenny Wilden has been successful in his pass attempt and now leads this Eastern Series final ahead of Robin Buck. So our top 4 are now 25, Kenny Wilden, 34, Robin Buck, number 2, David Empringham, and number 44, Rob Fellows, and they are beginning to open up some room ahead of the rest of the field. Number 11, Doug Beatty Jr. is off the track. He's punched that left front suspension right back inside, and he's going to limp the car into the pits. Looks like that'll be it for the Esso Sony driver today and for his season. Back to the race action through the compression into Moss Corner. Kenny Wilden is showing the talent that made him this season's rookie champion, but Robin Buck won't let him shake loose. And speaking of loose, there's 99, Howie Scannell, doing a 180, almost up against the wall, no damage though, and Howie, another rookie, gets back into it. And now Kenny Wilden, big sideways through corner 10. Robin Buck slips through on the inside, and now David Empringham, he slides down and he gets by on his way into corner 1. So we have a new leader, and Rob Fellows has also pounced on the rookie's mistake to take 3rd, dropping Kenny Wilden from 1st to 4th, just that quickly. Now, even though Wilden normally exhibits the poise of a veteran, that was a rookie mistake. The pressure from behind made him try too hard, too much, and Robin Buck, David Empringham, and Rob Fellows knew exactly how to exploit that momentary advantage. Number 43, Ron Fellows, continues to have his foot hard into it. And he's now passed number 70, Ian Phillips, into 7th place. A remarkable drive. This has been a somewhat strange race, to say the least. First, the wet-dry qualifying conditions put some drivers at the front, Drew Fazar and Gary Werb, who wouldn't normally be there, while dropping others, notably Ron Fellows, way back. Then, in the second restart, we lose last year's champion and the man who had this year's championship almost locked up, Richard Spinard. But the drivers currently up top deserve to be there. Buck, Empringham, Rob Fellows, and Kenny Wilden are all very good, capable of running with the best anywhere. As they come through the final turn towards the checkered flag, Robin Buck looks up at the starter's stand, and he gets the signal of a very deserving win in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Eastern Series Final. In second, David Empringham, Rob Fellows is 3rd, and Kenny Wilden comes home 4th. The leaderboard tells only half the story of this strange race. Robin Buck, the winner, climbing out of his car to receive the congratulations of his crew and sponsors. And now to Ron Fellows, our 1989 Eastern Drivers Champion, getting a warm greeting from 88 champ Richard Spinard. You think race drivers are unemotional? Just look at Big Ron. Now moving over to share a moment he thought would never come with his brother Rob. What a roller coaster weekend for Ron Fellows. Coming into this weekend, he seemed assured of the title. After his qualifying accident, it looked like the title was gone. Then Richard Spinard had to retire. The title again became Ron's, and the Sunoco driver certainly deserves the honor he fought so hard for. With the Eastern Final race winners and our new 1989 champion on the podium, here's Jim and Ron Fellows.
I have to thank all the people from Sunoco that are here, Mackenzie Financial, president's here, Applewood Shovels, my family's here, all of my crew guys that did a super job all year, and finally!
Our champions, come on, a big hand for all of them today here in Westwood.
2 times after
Well, what a finish to our Eastern Final, and we'll continue with Players Limited GM Western Final excitement from Westwood, BC, after these messages.
Well, as you saw, even a championship event can have several restarts for more reasons than just weather. I found that that particular series final really was a good example of how sturdy and safe the cars are that compete in this series. Well, now that Ron Fellows has successfully captured the Eastern Series and a young rookie named Ken Wilden captured the Rookie of the Year honors, let's now move over to Canada's West, where the finals of the Players Limited GM Motorsport Western Division took place at Westwood Racetrack in British Columbia. But before we go to that final race competition, let's take a Priority Courier up-close look at the thrills and spills that took place in the 89 Players GM race action right over the season. I want you to hold on for this one. I think you'll enjoy this little montage of racing actions, bump and grind on the track. Welcome back for more racing excitement as we now move to the West Coast and beautiful Westwood, British Columbia for the Players Limited GM Motorsport Western Series final. It is a hot one on the coast today, and here with a very special guest is Paul Gilgan.
Lisa, I have one question for you. Is your daddy going to win the race today?
Yeah,
How come?
because he's a good race driver.
What do you see today, Frank? You're starting in the third row, pole position. How's the race going to go?
Well, I heard of what happened in the East, and I don't want to repeat of that, so I think I'm going to be pretty careful.
It's never over till it's over, is it?
It sure isn't.
Well, we asked your daughter, Lisa, a few minutes ago, and she only had one name to give us, and guess what it was?
I hope it was mine. It better be.
John, well, you came to Vancouver in 7th. You're going into the race in 6th. Have you got your flights booked next week?
Well, I've got the tickets, but I'm hoping to use them.
What are you looking to do today? You're starting on the second row, a great position.
Excellent position. I just hope to drive with some controlled aggression, stay on the track, and finish ahead of my hood.
Right now we're in a situation where I'm starting on the inside of the 5th row. John is up on the 2nd row, and there's a lot of fast cars in between me and him. So I've got to get there as fast as I can. I'm going to be charging for everything I'm worth because that's for the last ticket to Saint-Jovite, and we want it pretty bad, and we're going to have to work for it, but I'm prepared to do that.
After a hectic qualifying session, number 1 Frank Allers has the pole in a Western Championship all but sewn up. Dowler needed a top qualifying spot to have a shot at that championship. He's in 7th. Andy Mahood dueling John Simonson for 6th and final spot in the national shootout. Simonson qualified 3rd, Mahood 9th. Another great story here, Trevor Siebert, remarkable Western Rookie of the Year, had problems in qualifying, gridded 13th. He too with an outside shot at that driver's title. He'll be gunning hard today. Couple of surprises. Orville Murchie in 6th and Rick Payne in 4th. They've gridded well today. They're out to play a spoiler's role. Warm, pleasant day at Westwood. Here's Paul.
Our top 6 qualifiers, Orville Murchie, Tony Morris, Rick Payne, John Simonson, Wade Lee, and Frank Allers.
With the inverted grid, Orville Murchie finds himself in an unaccustomed pole position, and as the drivers complete the pace lap, here are their thoughts on this Western final.
No, my goal right now is to win the West Series. You know, that this race out east is great and all, but we gotta prove to people that we can win in the West before we can win in the East.
Well, I'm really trying to concentrate on winning this series here in the West first, without looking too much at next week, but it's always in your mind. There's a big prize fund there, so it's in your mind.
This morning I didn't have too much confidence in what was going to happen out here, but after hearing the results from what happened back east with fellows first crashing in warm-up the other day, and now Bernard being out of it, definitely goes to show anything can happen.
Tony's got a lot of laps. He's got a lot more experience than I do, but it'll be a good race. I think everybody just has to keep a cool head and remind each other where everybody's going.
It's nice if we're in the front row and Frank's coming through, that maybe we'll get a little train going and maybe we'll win this thing.
You can bet number 1, Frank Ehlers, will be looking to make this final his race and put a lock on the Western Championship. Kevin Dowler, number 35 in the 4th row, will also be coming on hard in an attempt to snatch the title from Ehlers. Andy Mahood, number 13 in row 5, will have the pedal to the metal, taking aim at number 8, John Simonson, in row 2, and the final ticket to the shootout. And of course, Trevor Siebert will attempt the almost impossible task of winning from 13th position. Paul, over to you.
They come off the long S's, leading onto the front straightaway. Murchie and Morris on the front row. The green flag goes, and the race is underway.
Under the green flag and under pressure in front of this 20-car field, number 38, Orville Murchie, hanging on to the inside of the track through the corner, barely holding number 88, Tony Morris, at bay. The Camaros and Firebirds stream by. Morris is still giving Murchie a lesson in door-handle to door-handle racing, and now holds the inside line through the left-hander, but he's going to be on the outside now through this right-hander, and Simonson, number 8, finds a new line through 3, but manages to get abreast of Frank Ehlers, number 1. Whoa, there he goes again. Simonson off the road. The happy man from Calgary may be pushing just a bit too hard. Now it's Orville Murchie on top, followed by 88 Morris, Payne, and Wade Lee in 79. Look at this. Morris is right on Murchie's bumper. Over the top of Deer's Leap, heading down the chute into the hairpin. This is still a volatile field. No one has yet nailed down a secure position. And again, Morris has the inside line, and with some tail wagging, parlays it into the lead. Murchie hangs on to second, but Wade Lee's STP Camaro is right there as well. Coming through the S's, down the start, finish straight, and the end of lap 1, it's 88 Tony Morris, 38 Orville Murchie, 79 Wade Lee, 75 Rick Payne, and 1 Frank Ehlers. The Motomaster lap charts are out, but Morris and Ehlers would have to be blind not to know the score with this nose-to-tail traffic. Morris, a driving instructor at this track, shows Murchie the way into corner 1. There's Wade Lee diving under Murchie and into second, a bold move taking advantage of Murchie's wide entry. And Trevor Siebert has already moved from 13th to 8th. Now on board with Frank Ehlers, he looks inside, massages Payne's bumper a little, but even intimidation tactics don't faze Payne, who still holds on to 4th. Morris and Lee are opening up a gap on the field. Kevin Dowler, number 35, has moved into 6th, and Andy Mahood, number 13, now running 7th, with John Simonson having dropped back to 11th. So the shootout is looking good for Andy. And Tony Morris is looking good too, as he and Wade Lee part the win for those behind. Over Deer's Leap, heading into the hairpin. Morris out front, Lee, Murchie, Payne, and Kevin Dowler, number 35, puts a move on Frank Ehlers. Ehlers holds his ground, bouncing Dowler to the inside. There's no quarter being given in this Western final anywhere on this track. Through the S's, Tony Morris looks strong. His Motomaster Camaro obviously well dialed in today. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back to a glorious day for racing in the Players Limited GM Motorsport Western Series Final from Westwood, BC. Number 88, Tony Morris, and 79, Wade Lee continue to be the class of this very strong field, with the veteran Morris so far able to hold off the hard-charging youngster from Calgary. Kevin Dowler's dreams of a Western Championship have died in the pits. He's out of the race with mechanical problems. Here's the Edmonton driver with Paul.
Kevin, this wasn't the plan. What happened?
I don't know. Can't steer the car. I was kind of up the hill with Frank, and we got together. He pulled down on me.
Tough luck, Kevin. You're still going to Quebec.
I know. I wanted to go a better way than this, though.
So Dowler's done, but we're on board as Lee is charging. He slides out of the draft and takes Morris on the inside of corner 1 to become number 1 in this Western final. Now the roles are reversed as the pursuer becomes the pursuee. As Wade did to him, Morris will now try to fill Lee's mirrors and play the high-speed psychological game of nerves that even good drivers can sometimes have trouble dealing with. And it takes just a momentary lapse in concentration, a poor driving decision, and bang, you're back in second. But Lee knows the game too, and as a previous winner, he also knows how to work a lead. Charging up the long back straightaway over the famous Deer's Leap where the cars get very light. Number 6, Rick Moore, tries a little motocross maneuver but opts for pavement after all. The man from Maple Ridge, BC is currently 16th. Now on board with John Simonson as he uses the draft to overtake Andy Mahood for 7th. As tires smoke and bodies bang going into the hairpin. And farther back, number 77, Carl Harm moves under 5, Don Cherwoniak for 11th. And there's Trevor Siebert trading paint with Frank Ehlers as he muscles into 5th. Paul?
After a sensational 10-lap battle, Wade Lee finally passed Tony Morris, takes the lead, Morris second, Orville Murchie and Rick Payne for 3rd and 4th. Trevor Siebert, rookie sensation, up to 5th. A real battle going on for 7th with Andy Mahood and John Simonson. They're not fighting for 7th, they're fighting to go to Quebec. Now back to Paul Chater.
To Quebec, the shootout, and a shot at $50,000 in prize money. We know Wade Lee and Tony Morris will be there, but right now these drivers are fully concentrated on the task at hand, winning this one. There have been battles galore behind these two, but all that might as well be happening on another planet as far as these guys are concerned. Drivers are taught to race against the track. In other words, to try to use perfect technique everywhere, because the more accurate you are, the faster you are. But that theory is hard to put into practice when you're this close together. Rick Payne resides in 3rd, Orville Murchie holds 4th, and Trevor Siebert, in a remarkable drive, has locked into 5th. On board with John Simonson as he is rudely rebuffed by Frank Ehlers in a vain attempt to wrest 6th spot from the 2-time Western champion. Ehlers must feel like a pinball the way he's been bouncing off people today. It looks like Frank Ehlers will be wearing number 1 on his Camaro game next season and carrying the Western crown to the shootout.
How quickly do you think you'll be able to get down there and sort the track out, get up to speed?
Well, we have a full day's testing on the track before the actual event, so we should be in really good shape by the time the Saturday qualifying's come around.
No disadvantage?
I don't think so, not really.
You've run against Bernard before in the East, I think?
Yeah, we ran at Montreal and at Toronto Molson Indy. I qualified faster than him at Toronto, and we were very close in the race, so I expect to have a really tight race there.
There's number 55, Murray Craig of Langley, BC, giving Andy Mahood a run for 8th place. Number 75, Rick Payne, is comfortable in 3rd, but heading into the hairpin, Orville Murchie is uncomfortably aware of Trevor Siebert's bid to steal 4th. A terrific crowd here at Westwood today, and they've been treated to a terrific Players Limited GM Motorsport Western Series final. And there's still more action as number 6, Rick Moore, pulls by 33, Barry Hikoski, and into 14th. No matter where you finish, every improved position is a small victory. We'll be back for the big one after this. Welcome back to the final laps of the Players Limited GM Motorsport Western Series Final from Westwood Motorsport Park in British Columbia. Our leader is 79 Wade Lee, who took the lead in his bright orange and blue SDP Camaro from 88 Tony Morris on lap 9. But the drive of the day belongs to this man, number 9 Trevor Siebert. The Western Rookie of the Year has moved from 13th to 5th and goes wide, trying to get by number 38 Orville Murchie and into 4th. Still, he remains relentless on Murchie's tail. Number 1, Frank Ehlers, and number 8, John Simonson, also close in behind. Down the hill to the hairpin, Siebert tries again on the inside, one of the best places to pass on this track. Outbraking Murchie to move into 4th place, he's done it. With 2 wins and 3 seconds, Siebert has served notice that he may be the man to beat next season. But right now, the man to beat is Wade Lee, driving an intelligent and controlled race. Let's go to trackside and Paul Gilgan.
Paul, down here at trackside, Wade Lee not only passed Tony Morris, but he's opened up a 3-second margin on him. Behind that comes Rick Payne, Trevor Siebert, Orville Murchie, Frank Ehlers,
and John Simonson. The drive of the day so far clearly has to be Trevor Siebert. Starting 13th, worked his way up to 4th. John Simonson in 7th, back now in front of Andy Mahood. His job is to stay there. Back to Paul Chater.
Thanks, Paul. It looks like Frank Allers has found some speed. He's on Orville Murchie's rear bumper and maybe setting Murchie up for a pass. Climbing the hill up the back straight, Murchie trying to hold off Allers as they come up to Deer's Leap. On board now with Frank Allers over the crest of the hill. He moves to the inside on Orville Murchie and takes away the line into the hairpin. So our 87 and 88 double champion isn't through yet as he moves into 5th, dropping Murchie back to 6th. But Murchie tries to retaliate, but Allers improves his position into the S's and takes aim now on Trevor Siebert. Wade Lee finished 7th overall in the series in 88 and will be no worse than 4th overall this year, with 4 top 5 finishes to his credit. At 24, he's another of the young Lions in this series, destined for big things in the years to come. And today, he appears destined for a season-ending victory and the big Lions share of the nearly $40,000 in prize money. Rick Payne, 75, is headed for one of his best finishes ever. Currently in 30, has driven well from lap 1. 9th overall in the Drivers' Championship. Rick is a consistent driver who will also be heard from in 1990. Tony Morris was runner-up to his teammate Frank Allers in the 88 championship and will be the first to tell you the young guys get better every year. On board now with Frank Allers as he gives one of these young guys a taste of championship form. On the back straight, Allers moves under Trevor Siebert and holds his inside position into the hairpin. Under braking some slower traffic in front, he's got the rookie boxed out and makes it look easy as he slides into 4th. Siebert tries to reply, but Allers holds firm and the youngster falls 1 down into 5th. It's last lap nail-biting time. Wade Lee knows he's just a few kilometers from his 2nd victory of the season on this track. It would bookend the series for him, giving Lee a win in the first and last race of the year. Has dropped back a bit as they head down the back straightaway here at Westwood, cresting the rise and onto the downslope toward the hairpin. Morris will have to do it here, if at all. He closes up under braking. Lee glances in his mirror and holds the lead through the hairpin. Can he hang on through the S's? He's got an advantage over Tony Morris. Behind the leaders, Allers shows a wide car to Trevor Siebert as the rookie pushes the champion through the corner. Allers holds on to 4th. Now here's Paul at the line as the checkers fall for Lee.
Wade Lee flashes by the start-finish line and just holds off Tony Morris for a tremendous conclusion to today's Players Limited GM Motorsports Series West race. In 3rd place, Rick Payne. 4th place, Frank Allers takes it at the last minute from Trevor Siebert. John Simonson is going to Quebec. Paul Chater.
The shootout looms, Paul. But first, let's give these guys their due. It was a smart and well-fought race for the top 3 in this Western final. And here they are.
And our winner for the second time in Westwood this year from Calgary, Wade Lee.
Over here, Wade. Wade. Over here.
A proud day for Wade Lee, and a proud one, too, for our Western Series Drivers' Champion. Now a winner in 3 consecutive seasons, Frank Allers. Tough, consistent, and talented. Frank proved he has the right stuff once again, but next year could be different. Paul?
The problem, Tony, is every year there's a fresh wave of young guys. They just keep coming.
They can stay away, you know. I mean, this is too much. Keep going down every year, but it was a nice race today, and I really thank Motormaster, my sponsor, and we're pleased to be here, and I was pleased to be on the podium, and it's been a good season.
Wade, there's no better way to put the car in the trailer to go to Quebec next week.
No, there is no better way. It's a good win for us, and it's a good win for the team, and it's a good win for STP and Lee Barron. After wrecking one car halfway through the season, it's a good way to end off the second half of the season for us.
Well, I'm really looking forward to going east now. I can focus on that. Today we were sort of preoccupied with getting the car through this race in one piece, which we just barely did. So we're really looking forward to racing these eastern guys.
Wow, what a day. 2 exceptional races and 2 fine champions crowned. And it's not over yet. Join us for the national shootout when the best in the West meets the best in the East. Well, there we have it, the 1989 season. Frank Allers, the Western champion, returns to the winner's podium for the 3rd straight year in a row. A very impressive performance. Now, next week on the GM Motorsport Hour, we have a double-billed program featuring the Players Limited GM Motorsport East-West Shootout. 1989, the first year, by the way, for this $25,000 purse, which pits the 6 best drivers from the West against the 6 best drivers from the East in a dash for the cash. It was held at Mont-Tremblant's fabulous road course, and this shootout is an exciting program to watch for. Now, in our second half, we'll visit Southern Ontario's Dragway Park at Cayuga for some NHRA Winston drag racing. From pro stock to alcohol funny cars to Canada's own Bob Elliott and his jet funny car, Northern Force. The Dragway Park Cayuga half will be a very exciting look into the fast world of drag racing. For the GM Motorsport crew, I'm Jim Paulson. Good afternoon. The GM Motorsport Hour, brought to you by General Motors of Canada Limited and by Quality GM Parts, Players Limited of Canada, Priority Courier, and Sony of Canada.